From News 3 Now, this is breaking news.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight at 10. And we begin tonight as Wisconsin's state Supreme Court race is called in favor of Dane County Judge Susan Crawford.
Here are the current numbers in that race. The Dane County Judge Crawford and former State Attorney General Brad Schimmel were vying to fill the vacant seat on the bench. Millions of dollars, of course, been well documented from all around the country have been pouring into this race. There you see Crawford with 82% of precincts reporting she's been declared the winner, a 55-45 margin. Democrats like former President Barack Obama and George Soros also threw their lot behind Crawford. The campaign holding a watch party tonight at the Park Hotel in Madison.
We have full team coverage from all of tonight's races. Let's begin with our Maddie Heimsch, who is with the Crawford campaign. Maddie?
Yeah, Crawford took the stage just a couple moments ago talking about that victory. She said she received a concession call from Brad Schimmel, and the race was really called in Crawford's favor just a little bit over an hour after polls closed at 8. So she took a very early lead and essentially a very decisive victory. Now, Crawford was joined on stage by not only her family, but by outgoing Judge Ann Walsh Bradley, who she will now be succeeding, as well as the 3 sitting liberal judges on the court, Jill Karofsky, Rebecca Dallett, and Janet Protasewicz. Now, Crawford had a lot to say about the nature of this campaign and the national influence that brought so much attention to the race.
As a little girl growing up in Chippewa Falls, I never could have imagined that I'd be taking on the richest man in the world. For justice in Wisconsin. And we won.
This win for Crawford will allow the court to hold on to the liberal majority it gained when Janet Protasewicz was elected just 2 years ago. That came after about 15 years of the court holding on to a conservative majority. Now, this will be monumental as the court hears arguments in the coming years about reproductive rights, abortion, Act 10, collective bargaining, and possibly even redistricting in the future. Reporting live from the Park Hotel in downtown Madison, I'm Maddie Heimsch, News 3 Now.
Maddie, thank you. Meanwhile, Republicans lined up behind Brad Schimmel, including President Trump and Elon Musk. The Schimmel campaign tonight is holding a watch party at the Milwaukee Marriott West Hotel.
And that's where we find our Armand Rahman. Armand, what's the atmosphere like there tonight?
Yeah, Susan, the crowd here has thinned out considerably since Schimmel took the stage and gave a very brief concession speech. Now, I was at the watch party for Dan Kelly back in 2023 when he ran against Judge Janet Protasewicz for that Supreme Court seat. And let me tell you, the concession speech is very different between the two candidates. Schimmel acknowledging the work that he had done over the course of this campaign, thanking his supporters for door knocking and going out and trying to get out votes. But much to their chagrin, he said that the numbers just didn't add up. Take a listen.
Yeah, I've called Judge Crawford and conceded. No. You got to accept the results. Just don't. Yeah, right. I'm not up here making any joke. This is the numbers aren't gonna turn around. They're too bad, and we're not gonna.
And Schimmel is behind me throughout the crowd here, kind of going around, hugging people, thanking them for their support. Again, a very different concession moment from what we saw from Dan Kelly back in 2023 to a candidate that was backed by President Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and plenty of big Republican names and a lot of money, but that campaign now coming to an end. For now, reporting in Waukesha County, Armand Rahman, News 3 Now.
Armand, thank you. Tonight's results cements the liberal majority on the state Supreme Court.
Our political reporter Will Keneally joins us now alongside political analyst Brandon Schultz to discuss what it means for future policies here in Wisconsin. Will?
That's right. We will see a liberal majority on the court for at least a couple more years now because the next seat up is a conservative seat. So as you say, it does cement the liberal majority there with a lot going on, Brandon, potentially on the court. But I do want to start out with with, we'll show the viewers at home. On the left side, you're seeing the live results from tonight. On the right side of your screen there, you're seeing the results from 2 years ago when a Liberal candidate won by a significant margin, an 11-point victory. What is kind of the story tonight? We were talking a little bit about kind of what this means, the canary in the coal mine, so to speak.
Yeah. You know, if the results as we see them now kind of settle at that 54%, 55% for Crawford, that's probably more of a reasonable return, not the 11. But it also says that there are still places in this state that Republicans simply were not able to move like they were in the last 2 races. They weren't able to move their numbers where they needed to in the WOW counties and maybe in some of the Bow counties. So that's a problem for Republicans. And some of the others are consistent, but in a year from now, what's going to change? Maybe some of the decisions by the court, but we know that people really don't focus on those sort of things. There'll be redistricting, there'll be abortion, there'll be some legislative gubernatorial things that come up. But will there be enough time between now and April to take up the next Supreme Court race? And I don't know. I think this is a surprise for a lot of people. A lot of people thought it'd be closer. All of us said, I don't know, get a coin, it's a coin toss. The other thing is, it's $100 million.
Mind-boggling.
Beyond boggling.
Yeah.
And is it another $100 million a year from now? Because I think there'll be questions. Was there too much money spent? Was it saturation? You certainly have to take a look at Elon Musk's role in this. Mm-hmm. He's a $20 million man. He was in the state with $1 million checks and doing all sorts of stuff. Does that happen a year from now? The president's endorsement of Brad Schimmel. That's a coup for any candidate. And so they had that. Was that successful in bringing out the MAGA vote? Now maybe it turned out some, but clearly not enough. Those are all sort of things that this post-election analysis is going to have to take into account for conservatives and Republicans to see where they settle up. And it's only a year from now. It's not like you got a couple of years to tee the ball up and see how hard you can hit it. Yeah. This is coming starting tomorrow.
We're looking at the latest Marquette polls from a couple of weeks ago. When we see that Musk visit to Green Bay, about 80-something% of Republicans view Musk favorably, where 97% of Democrats view him disfavorably. Kind of understanding the impact there. I also want to point out to viewers at home, so Crawford winning the race tonight, she won't be seated on the court until August. When Protasewicz won 2 years ago, we saw instantly some liberal lawsuits, for example, the redistricting, come within a matter of days. We see on the court right now some balance of power cases between the legislature and the governor, controlled by Republicans, Democrats, respectively. What could we see this court do now going forward?
It's likely they're going to take all those cases. I mean, they've held on to the abortion case. They want the redistricting case because they have an opportunity, in their own words, to flip the 1st and 3rd congressional districts. Well, all the districts would be up, I think, for redistricting if they brought that case. Can they get it done quick enough? Does it have to go to the U.S. Supreme Court? Will somebody take the court to throw out this decision? But Democrats want that decision quickly. So does that come first? Does abortion come first? Does some of these other legislative gubernatorial cases come first? And to your point, what else could they quickly introduce to get into the mix to get it done? Will the court move faster in this term to get those things done, even though they have the majority after 2026, but still, how much can they get done? Because there'll be more to do. They got 2 years rather than 1 year to get their work done.
A lot to watch out for. And we'll say, too, you can tune in live at 4. You are frequently a guest helping break these things down. A lot to watch out for viewers at home, but we'll send it back to you guys right now.
Guys, thanks. We will get more election coverage in a moment. But first, it's alert day, and our weather team has been keeping a close eye on things, Alex.
Yep, round one, part one of alert day conditions ongoing right now. It will last through the overnight period. We have rain and wet snow. In fact, we have partially covered snow roads north of Madison. So if you have any travel north of Madison, some of the roads, even the interstates, have some slushy spots on those area roads. And then we turn our attention towards thunderstorms eyeing up a little bit later. That's part two. Right now, the snow still falling in a decent clip north of the Dells up towards Juneau, Adams, Marquette, and Green Lake counties, a little bit more over southwest Wisconsin, but precipitation is taking a brief break across southern Wisconsin, although as we head a little bit later into the night, watching future track, the rain snow line progressing towards the north, and then all rain from Madison and areas to the south, and then we eye up round number two. This goes from Wednesday morning through Wednesday afternoon. Storms with hail and strong winds could be knocking on our doorstep as early as 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, and then if we get a break, and we'll use future track to take the latest peek at this, if we get a break in can warm up enough, we could be looking at an isolated tornado threat. That's all coming up in Maine weather using Future Track to take us from 6 a.m. to the end of alert day conditions.
All right, Alex, thank you. Also, of course, tonight on every ballot across the state, the race for Wisconsin's next superintendent of public instruction.
Incumbent Jill Underly is seeking a second term, challenged by education consultant Brittany Kinzer. This race has just been called now for Dr. Underly with 84% of the precincts reporting. We'll check in with the campaign parties for both of these races. When we come back, we'll get more reaction from both candidates after a quick break.
You're watching News 3 Now at 10.
Welcome back. Tonight, the future of education in Wisconsin was on the ballot across the state.
So here is the current tally in that race. Incumbent Department of Public Instruction Superintendent Jill Underly has been declared the winner. We are at 86% now. Precincts reporting a 53 to 47% margin. Underly seeking that second term was challenged by education consultant Brittany Kinzer.
The Underly campaign was headquartered tonight at the Concourse Hotel.
And they're waiting. While they awaited that final count, Ellie LaLiberte has really been covering this race for months now, and she joins us now with reaction from the Underly campaign. Certainly a celebratory evening tonight, Ellie.
Yeah, that's right, Eric. As soon as we heard that this was going in her favor, we heard cheers erupt from the crowd here. It's a rather intimate gathering. I'd say maybe 25 to 30 people here, but all in support of Dr. Underly this evening. Now, she spoke to her supporters just a little bit ago, and some of the things we heard from her, some of the things we've heard throughout this campaign. We heard her really wanting to put money into the classroom, fixing the state funding formula, which she's been opposed to, considering that in 2024, Wisconsin voters actually approved a record number of referendums. So that's something that she really wants to fix. We also heard her talk a lot about teacher retention and recruitment. That's a big issue for her. She put a lot of money into that for her proposed budget. So now for her, it's about looking forward. That's a lot of what we heard on this podium earlier this evening. And it's something that she has really wanting to make sure her voters and her supporters know about as well. But we'll continue to follow this race as she is now, as we're calling that race. But for now, reporting live at the Concourse Hotel, Ellie LaLiberte, News 3 Now.
All right, Ellie, thank you. And again, we're going to go to Alex Harrington, a very important forecast to keep an eye on these next 24 hours or so, Alex.
Yeah, indeed. Part number one is happening right now through the overnight rain, wet snow. Wind has been we had to contend with that wind that's been evolving overnight tonight. Then we change our tune over towards thunderstorms as we head towards daybreak. Some of that heavier snow right now stretching from Camp Douglas to New Chester, over to Buffalo, over to Markesan, and areas towards the north where we do have partially snow-covered roads, really from the Dells and areas towards the north. So if you have any travel towards the north, you might run into a couple of slushy spots on area roadways. Roads are, for the most part, just wet in Dane County, but a little bit more wet snow developing from Perry over to Fitchburg to Stoughton. That's going to lift off towards the north and towards the east through the rest of Dane County. And then here's the rain. Sparse right now to the south and west over towards Platteville and Dubuque, but that's going to change as they put Future Track into motion. That rain snow line lifts to the north. By the time we get into the early morning hours of Wednesday, that rain snow line from Lone Rock to Madison to Jefferson, and that's going to continue to move towards the north. Then we have part two. This is where we could be looking at some dangerous thunderstorms starting Wednesday morning, but more likely the most dangerous potential is going to be during the Wednesday afternoon time frame. Can't rule out some hail and strong winds tomorrow morning. Jacob will be here through the morning, through noon, and then Blaze and I are going to take over at noon tomorrow. We're watching for, if we warm up enough, that isolated tornado threat will increase across parts of southern Wisconsin. I said earlier in first weather, I'm going to take us from about 6 o'clock in the morning through the end of alert day conditions. Look at the thunderstorms over southwest Wisconsin, stretching to Madison, over to Janesville. These storms could have small hail, so you're very likely going to wake up to a loud rumbling morning here with more periods of thunderstorms with that small hail potential. Can't rule out an isolated severe storm during that time frame. Then as we head towards 9 o'clock in the morning, that first line of thunderstorms moves out of the area. We're eyeing up the potential for a brief break. If we get this brief break during the afternoon hours, more thunderstorms pop up along the Mississippi River, and then that's going to move off towards the east with additional scattered thunderstorms across the area. It's these thunderstorms that would pose the threat for that isolated tornado risk. and along with wind and the hail threats. So we'll be keeping a very, very close eye on tomorrow. First Warn Weather Team, we've got your back all day long.
We'll get a recap shortly, Alex. We want to go to the Brittany Kinzer campaign. She lost tonight to Jill Underly in that Department of Public Instruction superintendent race. Let's listen in to her campaign there at the Sonesta Hotel, Milwaukee's West Side.
Friends that believed in me right away. I have my team. I have people from the beginning who helped me explore whether or not I was going to run in this race. New friends, some of you in the media that I really appreciate, and I got to know you, and I appreciated your fairness in reporting and elevating the issues around our children and how they deserve more. We cannot settle for only 3 out of 10 of our children, 3 out of 10 children reading well enough to go to college or have a career. We cannot settle for only 5% of our Black children in Milwaukee reading well enough to go to college. It is a reading crisis. And I'm so glad that we were able to elevate this reading crisis so that all of you who are listening to me now will get in this fight for our children. So I want to especially thank my team. I'm probably not an easy candidate. So I want to thank them. I want to thank first DJ for getting in it with me when it was just me, and then Amy Loudenbeck, where are you, Amy? For believing in me and saying she would get all the signatures. And thank you to Stefan and Chris and Priya, and I feel like I'm missing someone. And thank you, Rob, for calling me. Rob called me and said that he had 50 volunteers for me to get signatures. So I just want to say that it didn't turn out the way we hoped, but I hope more people get involved and make sure that our children are learning how to read and that they are prepared for the future, because children are depending on us. So I want to thank you all so much. This is just one race. This is my life's calling, is to work for our children, and I won't stop today. So I hope you all don't either. So thank you so much.
Graceful concession speeches tonight from both Kinzer and the Schimmel campaign as well. Resounding wins tonight for both Jill Underly in that race and also, of course, Susan Crawford in the state Supreme Court race. We'll be right back with sports.
I'm very grateful, appreciative, and I'm beyond fired up. When I was at Illinois State, I always had my eye on this job, and I thought it would be a really, really special place to coach someday.
And that day is today as the Robin Pingeton era of Badger women's basketball is officially underway. Wisconsin introduced Coach P this afternoon, and it was a full circle moment for her. She takes over a program she calls a sleeping giant and is ready to hit the ground running to bring Badger women's basketball back. And for Coach P, well, she always knew this place was a special one.
Definitely was something, and I don't know, I can't recall back, what exactly it was, but it was always a place that I thought, I've heard so many great things about it. Has it changed today? No, if anything, I'm even more excited. I know this is a special place, and I feel very blessed and honored to be a part of it, and I can't wait to get to work.
The Bucks hosting an old friend in Coach Bud and the Suns, and Giannis was simply showing off in front of his old skipper, you could say. He had change in his pocket the way he was throwing dimes. First, he finds Taurean Prince in the corner, and he didn't even need to look at that one. That puts the Bucks up 11. Then later, the Freak finds Brooke Lopez, who throws down the alley-oop. Giannis finished with 11 assists to go with his 37 points. Bucks beat the Suns 133-123. And the Brewers looking to avoid a 0-5 start for the first time since 1984. Eric Haas trying to make that not happen. Look at that solo shot. Check out this fan. That's all of us. Brewers get the win, 5-0 the final. We're back after this.
You're watching News 3 Now at 10.
Well, we stole a little time from Alex earlier. We're giving it back to you because you've got an important forecast here.
Important now. It's snowing out there.
Happy April. It's snowing.
April
No
Fools.
joke.
No joke, though. No joke tomorrow either. As the snow transitions over to thunderstorm activity, let's take a look at future track. By the time you're probably going to be woken up. If you aren't up by 4:30 in the morning on a normal day, you're going to have thunderstorms that are going to take over southern Wisconsin, periods of them as we head towards 6 o'clock, rumbling through at least 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. Some of those those storms could produce some small hail. Not expecting widespread severe weather with these storms. It will be pretty cold out still at this point in time. Nonetheless, Jacob has your back tomorrow morning. Jacob's going to stick around through the noon, and then Blaze and I are going to take over as we get into the afternoon. Notice the break here in shower and thunderstorm activity. If this materializes, then the storms that form out to the west, out towards the Mississippi River, could really rev back up again. And this would be all modes of severe weather. Large hail, damaging winds. We can't rule out an isolated tornado in the afternoon. So we'll be keeping a very close eye on the conditions as they evolve tomorrow. Let's break this down if you prefer to read here. Right now we're in the rain-snow mix phase. Those strong storms around 6 o'clock tomorrow morning with a little bit of hail, small hail not out of the question. A brief break late morning, and then if we get that break, the severe threat increases with all severe weather modes possible, including an isolated tornado threat. Good news is by 7 o'clock, it's all out of here. But again, rest assured, the whole First Warn Weather team, we will be here tomorrow for full coverage with alert day conditions. Hopefully that warm air doesn't build into the area and we can keep that threat to the south. After that, we quiet down and we stay normal weather-wise for a while.
All right, stay with us. Complete coverage tomorrow. Stay with our election coverage. Those numbers at the bottom of your screen and also at channel3000.com.
Have a good night, everybody.